English Nerf herders, listen up! Ha! Welcome back, I'm Captain Xavier, and this is another auxiliary update. The basic outline of what I'm going to be covering here, going to be talking about some updates to some of the events that are going to be happening. I'm going to be discussing some merch. We have some fabulous new merch options coming out. I'm going to discuss the survey for the auxiliary bio. There was some questions and some discussion that happened on that. I'm going to be talking about some basic online behavior, not really rules, but more kind of guidelines that really fit into what the auxiliary is all about. Going along with that, of course, what is the purpose of the auxiliary? What is my long-term goals for all of this? And along those lines, there will be some discussion of the training videos that I keep promising and that are finally getting close to being done. And finally, some major organizational stuff that is going on in the auxiliary that has happened far sooner than I was expecting. So let's get into this. First of all, the auxiliary is absolutely amazing. I never expected the kind of response and what has happened has just blown me away. We're already to a point in the auxiliary that I didn't think was going to be reached for at least a year, until at least after End War, and they saw at least a handful of us in action and like, oh yes, I'd like to be a part of that. We're at over 700 some odd members on the Facebook group and 200 some odd, probably more on the Discord. And we probably have a lot more people who are interested but just haven't joined either of those. We've got people coming up with absolutely amazing ideas and organizing things in ways that I'd never considered or that I never expected to get organized at this level. And it's absolutely amazing. The amount of talent and motivation and just awesome people we have in the community that's getting created is beyond anything that I had ever expected. It's what I dreamed it would one day become, but I never actually thought it would, and certainly not as fast as it has. So I'm playing a lot of catch-up, trying to get everything prepared that I didn't expect to need for a year, and so bear with me. Some of the events, PSU is happening. That one's going. There's also going to be a Nerf war the next day, and we're going to be playing, at the very least, Titan Ball. I have decided that Titan Ball needs to become the official sport of the auxiliary, and so I'm going to do my best to make Titan Ball possible in as many places as possible. So when I travel to places, I will try to bring some Titan rockets that I've made so that people can play Titan Ball, because it's not so hard to get a hold of a Titan, but getting a hold of Titan missiles can be very, very difficult or expensive. So I have a video on how you can make your own if you rebarrel your Titan. I'm also going to be bringing ones that I've made that do not require the Titan to be rebarreled. I will also be doing a review on some that I got on eBay that don't require rebarreling. So that is another option. So those are the events. West vs. Zombies may be having a change of location. They were originally going to have it in Fort Townsend, which was awesome because it's an hour from me, but they're now having issues with the park not liking the idea of people running around with Nerf blasters on the park, and they thought it might be dangerous to the environment. So they are looking at some other options that are unfortunately not as close to me, which is sad, but still up here in the Pacific Northwest, more or less. So stay tuned for that. When I have more details, I'll let you guys know when the location has actually been finalized. Let's talk about merch. So we already had Jean, who is providing badges and patches and squad patches and name tags and dog tags and all of that through his Etsy shop. That is absolutely amazing. If you have a personal badge you want designed, you can talk to him and he'd probably be willing to work with you. And at the very least, you can get your customized name tag and the official auxiliary patches and all of that. The link, of course, will be down in the description. Out of Darts, of course, carries the X-Strike t-shirt that has the X-Strike symbol on either shoulder as well as the chest. So if you're looking to get one of those, that would be a lovely option for, you know, being slightly more uniform. And SeamstressAtArms has finally managed to get a hold of all the equipment and materials necessary to do embroidery, which it's absolutely gorgeous. So we have both the X-Strike logo that can be embroidered, as well as the auxiliary logo that can now be embroidered, and we're still working on what things it can be embroidered on. We are starting with what these are, which is just essentially a bandana. A large 27-inch by 27-inch, I believe, is what they are. and they can be folded in... This one has the logo on both sides. That may or may not be how they actually end up in production. But you can fold them either to be used, you know, as I'm wearing, you know, I really like having an actual bandana, so you can wear it as a bandana. You could also fold it, I'll probably end up having to have a whole video, or actually I'll probably have her have a video on how to best fold these, because I don't actually know the technique yet. But you can fold it into a headband, so that it's not covering your whole head, which is a lot more not cooking your head. And you could also then use it as an armband, to have either the X-Strike logo or the auxiliary logo. If you don't have, you know, Molly gear that has a convenient place to put a Velcro patch on, or you have like really fancy cosplay stuff and you don't want to permanently affix an auxiliary logo because it doesn't fit, but when you go to an event with it, you want to have something that you can just throw on real quick and have the auxiliary symbol there. So those will be available very, very soon. She is still working on getting the whole production set up, but we do have the ability to make the embroidery files to make her embroidery machine print whatever we want. So we're still tweaking things like how big do we want them to be, which patterns do we want, what materials will they be on. We will probably expand what she actually does embroider stuff on in the future. We're starting with the bandanas because they're really quick and cheap and very useful for a lot of different applications. So those are available. Ben Gaines has also started making embroidered patches for the auxiliary. SeamstressAtArms may eventually do something similar, but Ben Gaines apparently already has it up and running. I will get all the information for his links, and it will also be down in the description. I'm also hoping to eventually have patches available through either Foam Blast or Out of Darts, because Foam Blast is going to be carrying X-Strike patches very soon. I finally got to see them, and they're gorgeous. And Out of Darts already carries the X-Strike t-shirts, and I'm hoping to get auxiliary t-shirts that are the same, that have the emblem on both sleeves, so that you would have your patch requirement covered, or your badge requirement covered. So we'll see where that goes. I have also created shops, storefronts at both Spring Tees and Public Tees, or TeePublic. Not sure what the names are. Links will be in the description. And they're websites where you can put your own custom t-shirts designs on, as well as hoodies and sweaters and tank tops and all sorts of other merchandise that you can have your logo put on. So I've created auxiliary ones, as well as the full auxiliary flag, the skull with the crossed long strikes, and the auxiliary badge. So those are also now available. And I went with the two different ones because I've heard that one doesn't have good international shipping, and I didn't know about the other one. Both of them were free to set up your storefront, but whoever has the storefront set up does get a cut. So it will, in fact, benefit me. I'll get a small cut from every shirt or sweater or whatever that gets sold, which will then be able to go towards travel or towards the makerspace that I'm working on, which is fantastic. Plus, there's a lot of variety. And if there's more stuff you'd like me to add, I can do that. The neat thing is that as far as I know, there's no minimum order requirement. They make them as they're ordered, so we can, we can expand the options quite a bit, which is really, really neat. One of them had more options. You could do stuff on the front as well as the back, and had more t-shirt variety and all of that. So that's why I went with the two. Let me know which one of them works out better, and I may switch to one only or only the other. We'll see. If you know of a better option than those two, definitely let me know, because I've never used either, and didn't know anyone who was particularly fluent in either, so let me know what you've got there. But there are now those available, at the very least. X-Strike stuff isn't available there because Out of Darts is selling that stuff for me. But that's what we have for merch at the moment. There may be more stuff in the future. If you have an idea, let me know. Alright, let's talk about the actual auxiliary. The 99% of what I've seen on the boards and on the Discord has been amazing, wonderful, and exactly the sort of thing that I'm wanting. There have, of course, been the occasional spats or, flame wars that spring up, and I've had a couple of actual serious issues that I got called in to deal with, which is going to happen when you have hundreds of people with no actual vetting process, because anybody can join, so there's nothing to prevent somebody who really doesn't fit into the auxiliary from joining the auxiliary and trying to cause a stink. And that is going to happen, and that's why we have the admins and the moderators, and why I'm here. That is my job to deal with that sort of thing as well, to delegate it to have other people deal with it. So if you see something that is, in your opinion, decidedly conduct unbecoming of a member of the auxiliary, don't start a flame war in the comments or in the Discord. Don't feed the trolls. It's just going to make them worse. Contact an admin, contact a moderator, contact me. I'm not always available. I do have a real job that I occasionally have to do, but if something really serious is coming up, I will try to deal with it as quickly as possible, or delegate an administrator to deal with it. And in a number of cases, people have. They've flagged the comment, or they've reached out to me and said, hey, could you take a look at this? And I've had moderators who contact me going, hey, we need someone to, to deal with this. This is a problem. And in a couple of cases, they've dealt with it without me ever even knowing about it, which is why I have them. So yeah, deal with it like responsible adults. I know that the reaction on the internet is to comment back something mean or snide or sarcastic, and it doesn't help. It just makes it worse. And oftentimes sometimes it's seriously just a misunderstanding of, they might not even be from, English might not be their first language, and they use the wrong word, and it's turned into a mess. Or they meant it as a silly sarcastic joke, but the comedy didn't come over in the black and white of text, or they didn't understand what you meant, and they're being defensive, and then you're defensive, and it all falls apart. The internet is a terrible place to have any kind of meaningful empathic communications, because there's no empathy. There's just text. And so it's really hard to read someone's tone and all of that. So try not to let it get out of hand. That is what we're here to deal with. I don't mind stepping in and going, hey, hang on a second, this isn't what I said, or this isn't what I meant, or this is how it's going to be, or what have you. So, not all of us are adults. There are kids in the auxiliary who I understand. You're 12. You don't have the experience that us old men have. But the older people, you do, and I do expect you to act like adults as much as possible. It's the internet. I know what it does. So be aware of that. But so many of the things that could have turned bad haven't, and it's just amazing to see, somebody make a comment, and then somebody go, now hang on a second, and the person immediately go, no, that's not what I meant this, sorry, and they're like, oh yeah, cool, it's awesome, let's be friends. I've seen so much more of that than I have ever seen anywhere else. And so many awesome and wholesome comments where somebody posts a picture of a loadout that I've never seen on any other board, and you're like, I have a feeling they've never posted this before, and this is the one place where they felt safe showing this loadout, and their responses have always been, that's an awesome loadout, good blaster choices, I mean, I like how you did that sling, and the colors in that are fantastic, or good suggestions, like, they'll ask, I'm looking for a holster, I'm like, well, I like this one, and this one, these ones didn't work so well, this blaster fits in this. And it's been absolutely amazing to see the community that's being created. And I've had so many people reach out to me and go, I've never seen a Nerf community like this. All the other Nerf communities, aren't this friendly, or aren't this accepting, or aren't this creative or interesting. And I love that. And I'm so happy that is how the auxiliary is shaping up, because that is what the auxiliary was always intended to be. The auxiliary was always intended to be a community that is striving to make the hobby better for everybody, not just for us. The goal of the auxiliary is not to become this incredibly powerful super pact of elite troops that are going to go to all these events and just wreck everything and ruin the fun because we're so badass and we're going to win. That isn't what the auxiliary is about. The auxiliary is about going to these events and making sure everybody has more fun, because we are part of everybody. And if we make the event better for everyone, it'll make the event better for us. And then those people will take that attitude into their communities and make them better. And then when we show up to those events, we will be seen as a good force. So instead of us showing up and everyone going, well, now we're going to lose, the auxiliary's here. They'll be showing up going, yes, auxiliary members, this is going to be awesome. They always have great ideas, and they're always so much fun and silly, and they always help everybody. And that is definitely the culture that I'm seeing form. And it's so amazing to see that forming. But at the same time, we are going to be doing training. We are going to be trying to get better at our craft and our hobby, because that is fun. It is fun to be part of an organized unit. It's fun to be structured and organized and have uniforms and badges and move and precision and all of that and really play the game well. That is fun. And as long as we're careful to balance that and make sure that our being awesome isn't making the game less fun for someone else, we can be awesome, and we can just have so much fun with squads and tactics and communications, and the logistics, and all of that is going to be simply amazing. Some of the logistics that have been organized already, where I look away for a minute, I look back, and my entire itinerary for PSU has been mapped out by people who are good at that. You know, they've got my housing and my food and my transport all lined up, but I just need to get on a plane and show up. That's awesome, and I want that to eventually become something that other members of the auxiliary can benefit from, that our logistics group will help that for everybody. Make sure that there's food and there's water and people know where everything needs to go, and we can help make the event run smoother because we are organized as opposed to showing up in a disorganized mass and it being chaos. If we can make the event run smoother, the event will run better. And so by us being organized, we can take some of the organization and all of the stress of the event off of the people who are running it. And they will hopefully appreciate that and will like having auxiliary and will, make things better for the auxiliary. So it's all connected, and if we make it better, it will be better for us. The good things that we do for the community will come back to us, and it's gonna be amazing. But there is also going to be a lot of training, which, as I said, I am working on that. We did some training footage, but it needs a lot of editing and some refilming and additional stuff. But I'm going to start getting those uploaded, starting with basic structure and organization and how certain commands that will definitely be there. And then we'll start getting into the more complicated stuff of squad tactics and formations and strategies and stuff like that. And there's such a huge wealth of knowledge there from people who have been in dozens of HVZs and who've been running squads and who've helped organize the events and know how the mods do things on the back end and how we can use that to our advantage, but also make things easier for the mods so that they don't get annoyed by us messing up their game. How can we play it to make it all run smoother? That sort of thing. I've got people who have whole slideshows of tactics and stuff that I still need to finish going through and making notes and figuring out what's going to work for the auxiliary, what's going to work for the crew, because there are always going to be a lot of people in the auxiliary that are raw recruits. They just showed up to the event and they find out the auxiliary exists and they want in. They will be let in, but they have no training, and we need to be prepared to, how do we use someone with no training in squads that have training, and what do we do with that? There's also going to be a lot of people who, it's their first event, they've watched the videos, but they've never actually been able to put it into practice. There's going to be varying levels of skill and experience, and that is something that's always going to be an issue with the auxiliary, and we will figure out how to deal with that. We'll either have, the new people mixed in with squads of veterans, or we'll have whole squads of new people that are used for a particular purpose, or what have you. But the goal will be to make sure that everyone is used to their full potential. And so there will be training that people can watch to get some basic ideas of how to check corners, how to clear rooms, how to communicate with your squad mates and your fire team and all of that. And there will be whole videos on the communications when we get that. For those people who really want to get into it and truly become more like a professional unit, or people who have been in professional units and want that to be a part of the auxiliary where they can use their skills and help teach and all of that. So that is definitely going to be a part of it. And it's going to be amazing, and it's going to be fantastic, and I hope we can teach that to as many people as possible and really make the games more fun, because I find that kind of thing really, really fun and very satisfying to be a part of. So that is where the training is going to go and kind of what I'm focusing on. Now for some of the larger organizational structure that, like I said, I didn't expect to need for at least a year, and I'm already feeling the lack of now, or going, I really need this stuff in place because this is getting chaotic. And that's going to be the divisions as well as the cores. So there are going to be 4 major divisions for now. We may end up creating more as need shows up, but there will be the combat division, which is where all of the actual feet on the ground, blasters, flinging foam stuff takes place. But the other 3 are where the real value of the auxiliary is going to be, I feel, as far as truly making the community better and bringing real value to you for being a part of it. And that's going to be the supply division, the logistics division, and CARD, the Crew Auxiliary Research and Development. And where I view those going is something that I'm going to need a lot of help with, and I will eventually, once it starts getting more structured, be calling for volunteers to be part of it. And a lot of them already exist. Like all the admins on the Facebook group and the Discord, they are NCOs in the logistics division. That's part of what logistics covers. The people who are already a part of CARD are part of CARD, obviously, the research division. And pretty much everybody who's planning to go to an event and fight, or, you know, fling foam, are part of the combat division. And then supply, there's been a surprising amount of that already showing up, with people trying to organize loaner gear for events, and food for events, and water bearing for events, and people posting, oh, there's this sale on Amazon for this particular blaster, you might want to grab one. That's all part of supply. So let's break those down a little bit further, starting with logistics, because that is the one that really has gotten the most developed so far. And as I said, that includes the Discord, all of the online communication, the Discord, the Facebook. If we eventually have our own website, it would be part of that. People who have been organizing the events. If we end up hosting our own events, that would be something that would be covered by logistics. Working out and making sure people know where the events are, when the events are, housing for the events, travel to the events. All of that is part of logistics, as well as that survey that I mentioned. That was a logistics project, essentially. Originally, I was just asked, I created a template that you filled out, and then I had to manually put it into a database, and it was a mess. And then somebody pointed out, why don't you just use a Google form? I'm like, that's a thing? I'm a computer scientist, I should know this sort of thing, but I didn't. So I created it, and that allowed everyone to enter it themselves, and it does put it into a spreadsheet that we can filter and we can sort, and so we can figure out, okay, show me everyone that's going to end war. And I can then look at, okay, how many people are bringing this kind of blaster? How many people do I have who put themselves down as leadership experience? How many people do I have that are medics? And I can easily sort through all of that, and it's a valuable tool for me on the back end. Which is why one of the questions that got brought up is the way I organized the loadouts didn't make any sense to a lot of people, because, like, well, it's just full auto, semi-auto, and scouts and non-combatants. That doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't make any sense in terms of determining your loadout, your personal loadout, because everyone's going to have a different loadout, and how you view your loadout as whether it's heavy or it's light. If you're carrying 25 magazines and an Alpha Trooper, are you heavy? If you're carrying, two Strife auto pistols, but you only have 15 rounds each, are you heavy? That all became kind of subjective, so I went with the objective measure of you're heavy if it's full auto, you're light if it's semi-auto or pump action, and you're a scout if you really want to be a scout role where you're going to be doing a lot of running. Because those are the three roles that are most useful to me when trying to organize squads and work out strategies and look at the numbers and all of that. It wasn't meant to, you must choose your role and that is the role you are in and it must fit into one of these. And I understand that, you know, that's kind of how it came across. It's like you were choosing your character and you are stuck with it. Now, obviously, you can switch to being a scout one event, you could switch to being heavy halfway through an event. You know, as long as your NCO knows what's going on, it really doesn't matter. But it gives me an idea of the kind of firepower that I have, because there's a place in HVZ for full auto, and there's a place for semi-auto, and I need to know what the balance is going to be so I can work out squad balances and all of that. Now, the other issue, they made a couple points. They're like, I really would have liked to have a medium now that I think about it. The problem is if I make any changes to that form now, everybody who took the survey will have to take it again. They'll have to go in, they'll have to change it, they'll have to resubmit, and any of the data that doesn't get resubmitted gets, it becomes erroneous, and information ends up in the spreadsheet that's not actually in the survey, and it would become a mess. And if I had to constantly make changes to it to fit various tweaks that people really wanted, the data would rapidly become completely useless to me. But I do plan to update it at least once a year. So probably right around New Year's, I'll ask everyone to go in and redo things. One, you'll need to change your age if you've had your birthday since the last time you filled it out. You'll need to switch the events you're going to, because the year will be over and you'll have gone to all the events and you may be going to new ones. Your experience will have changed if you've attended events. You may have learned new skills that you didn't have. You may now have leadership stuff that you never had before because you got promoted in the field because it turns out you're good at it. And I will probably at that point better organize things like loadouts. You know, I'll have a different option. There'll be the what is your primary blaster type, because that was the information I was looking for. And then there's more of a what sort of a role do you see yourself as? Do you see yourself as a heavy gunner? Do you see yourself as, you know, a support person carrying extra ammo? Do you see yourself as a line infantryman? Do you see yourself as you know, a medium where you've got a lot of ammo, you're not going to be doing a lot of running, but you've got a lot of firepower, that sort of thing, so that you can kind of balance it out. What your loadout is to you is what it is, and you will be used in a way that fits your loadout. It was just kind of a get me some useful information. So, but all of that is, again, part of logistics that helps me organize events. Logistics will also deal with things like making sure people are signed up, making sure people have their waivers filled out, making sure people know where local housing options are, where local food options are. They will help us organize probably, like I said, our own events eventually. I'd like to have logistics organizing our own possible invitationals or travel events or, you know, whatever you want. That's where logistics is going in. So if you're into that sort of thing, project management, scheduling, if that's your area of expertise, you know, once we start, you know, go ahead and let me know. I'm already putting down names for people that I want to reach out to and, you know, their skill sets and what ideas that they have that I might not have mentioned. Go ahead and put that in there. Next one is supply. And supply also has two major roles. One is going to be the online stuff, and the other is going to be an in-the-field type position. The online stuff is things like finding sources for blasters, finding sources for good ammunition, finding sources for good tactical gear, good holsters that fit particular blasters. That's all going to be the purview of supply, and I'd like to eventually start putting together a database of locations, of sources, of good gear for certain stuff, and, you know, them having supply sergeants who always are trolling through the internet looking for the best deals to bring those to us to post. Strifes are $15 on Amazon for the next 3 hours. Get them. That side of thing. That would be something that supply would do, as well as organizing blaster exchanges. So if people want to trade blasters, or they're looking to get rid of blasters, or they're looking to sell blasters, or they're looking to, you know, donate blasters to the auxiliary for loaner gear or what have you, that would be something that supply would help organize. At events, they would be responsible for food. So we're definitely looking into having actual meal plans for the auxiliary, so that you don't have to worry about packing food or where you're going to get food, or are you going to be able to get off site to go find food. No, there will be an auxiliary mess hall that has food, that you pay in your, you know, a certain amount of money, and food is available for the weekend. And that's one of those huge logistic things that you don't have to worry about now. It's handled. There'll also be the water bearer corps. There will be great piles of water at all events. I encourage everyone to bring a pallet of water, and it will be put with supply, and anybody who wants water goes and gets water. There will also then be water bearers that are responsible for making sure water is brought to the troops, because you have to have water or you will hurt yourself. It's also very distracting to be thirsty. So that is going to be a big part of that. Also, setting up our FOB, our forward operating base. Where is our central location for the auxiliary? Because we're going to want one for meeting and organizing stuff, and, you know, working into our squads and making sure everybody knows how the game is going, know what any updates that are happening, all of that sort of thing. Also a play to drop gear, because we are going to end up getting tagged. It's HVZ. People get tagged in HVZ. And you're going to want somewhere where you can go and put your gear and know that it's going to be safe, because gear has wandered off at End War before, and it's wandered off during HVZs before, where someone got tagged, so they put their stuff down because they knew they had to be a zombie for the next 5 minutes. They come back, their gear's gone. We don't want that. So there is going to be a supply dump where you can take your gear, and it will be safe. I'll also be organizing loaner gear, because a lot of people are going to show up to an event, they're going to see the auxiliary, they're like, I want to be part of this, I've got no gear. I want to have as much loaner gear as possible, extra vests, extra blasters, extra ammunition, you know, all of that stuff that people are going to need to be able to immediately join in and get in on the game. I want to have a location for that sort of thing, where when you bring gear that you're willing to loan, you'll take it to a supply sergeant, you will sign in, your initials, your name, a symbol, something that's unique, that they can then put in the log to know what gear you brought, so that you hopefully get it all back. And then anytime somebody comes to check out gear, they will have to sign for it. They will know exactly what gear they took, exactly who that gear came from, their contact information, so if it doesn't come back, you know how to get a hold of them. And hopefully we don't have too much of an issue with gear wandering off. So only bring gear that you're not horribly attached to. But I definitely hope to bring oodles of ammunition whenever I can, and hopefully people will also bring you know, grab a couple hundred of darts on, you know, NF Strike or out of darts or wherever you get your ammunition to donate to the Auxiliary Loaner Fund. And that would be handled by Supply. We would also have, you know, hopefully we'll have, when we get our radios set up, radios will be available at Supply for officers and for scouts if we have enough. That's kind of where Supply is aimed towards. The final one, CARD, the Research and Development Division. Obviously, there's the development of new technologies, which they're looking into stuff with drones for both, you know, aerial surveillance for keeping an eye on the battlefield, which would work with, you know, logistics to radio in locations of squads and movements of zombies and all of that sort of thing. I'm sure the mods are going to hate that and will probably disallow it, but we'll try it for as long as we can. There's also someone who's working on automated drones for carrying ammunition and water on the battlefield, so that sort of thing. That will also be the division that is responsible for helping new modders learn to mod their blasters. Hopefully one day the big ambitious plan would be to work towards creating a database of mod knowledge. I know there's Nerf Haven and there's lots of other places where it's all spread out, and I haven't found a place where it's really well organized. And I'd like to put one together that has links to various videos. So if you search Strife, it'll give you all sorts of things, easy mods, complicated mods, and if you look into there, then there's this person's build, MOSFET builds, wiring diagrams, motor specs, anything and everything that you would need to know. Comparisons between cages and wheels and motors and batteries. I know Foam Blast has done a lot of that, and I'd like to have that somewhere where people can get to it, because the information is out there, but if you don't know what keywords to look for, you're new and you don't know the terminologies, it's very hard to find anything. And going to boards like ours and asking, you know, how do I mod my Strife? Well, that's a really big question. And so I'd like to be able to point them and go, it's over there. You know, do some research, here's everything you need to know. If you have specific questions, come back and we can answer them. So that's something that I want CARD to eventually have, and also to catalog locations of where are the good motors, where are the best batteries, which batteries work with which motors, that sort of information, as well as, you know, teaching. You know, I'd like to do classes and seminars and videos and all of that. Now, I'd love to be able to host large mod events that are either, you know, could be live streamed, that would be organized through research and development, with probably the help of the logistics division and Supply helping provide the parts. It's all connected. But that is where the real, hoping the organization that we put behind it will really start helping our members really grow and really get into the hobby and help the hobby grow really well. And then combat will, of course, be about training people in, you know, squad tactics and situational awareness and leadership skills and stealth and scouting and, you know, best practices for loadouts so you can easily reload and easily switch what works, what doesn't work, where can you get, you know, gear will of course come from Supply, but then how to actually set that up and how to best utilize it and what works for what kind of loadouts, what works for what kinds of games, which blasters are good for certain positions. A lot of that kind of training will come in the actual combat stuff, and then of course the actual events where we're actually in the field, that's all part of the combat. But for the training, I'm looking to create corps within the combat division. So there's already the officer corps, and that's for, you know, one, for the officers to be in, but it's also to help teach officers. So if you want to become an NCO and you want to learn those skills, that is where you would go. You'd contact the officer corps, and we would help you with that. Another one that's recently been created is the Aux Strike symbol, which is the X Strike symbol, but with the X replaced with the auxiliary badge. That is going to be the logo of the Sharpshooter Corps. I'm going with Sharpshooter rather than Sniper. And their goal is a number of things. It's going to be largely things like Scouts. I'm picturing them kind of like the rifles in the Napoleonic era, where they were used as going forth and scouting and could engage at a distance safely and then report back and stuff like that. Often used camouflage, often used stealth. And their goal would be to teach those kinds of skills, as well as to foster and teach how to properly build and design and tune long-range, highly accurate blasters. In, you know, kind of working with Card on that particular subset and fostering that whole concept. There will also be a similar core for the heavies, similar core for the light. The bulk of the army is always going to be riflemen with semi-automatic or pump-action blasters, because that's the best for HVZ for bulk, because they're accurate, you don't waste a lot of ammunition, but they can spit out a lot of firepower if you need them to, so there'll be different cores for all of those different kinds of aspects. There'll probably be an artillery core at some point. You know, all those sorts of different things that will slowly but surely be getting created. None of this is going to happen today. None of this is going to be completely in place tomorrow and you can become a member of the sharpshooters and get your badge and charge off into battle. This is all long-term stuff that's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of people to slowly but surely get organized. And it's definitely going to take a lot of events where we actually start ironing out details, we start putting this stuff into practice, what worked, what didn't work, pulling experience from people who have done this sort of things, who have been in lots of big HVZs, people who have been in the actual military. We've got a lot of actual active duty and veterans who have done all of this professionally. I haven't. I will get all of the help I can. And I'm going to need it because I can't run an organization this big all by myself, especially not from the internet. I'm going to need people, and I'm going to need people who are actually going to the events, and I'm going to need people who really know how to do this, which is the beauty of the auxiliary, is you don't need to be able to go to an event to be an asset, because you may be really good at organizing things. You may be really good at finding deals. You may be really good at teaching and training and logistics and all of that. You may be someone who you don't have the mobility to run around in HVZ because, you know, health or injuries or whatever reason, or it's just not your thing. You don't like the stress of running around, but you want to be a part of it. There will be something in the auxiliary where you can find a place and can be useful and valuable, and that is awesome, because more fun for everyone. I'm very much planning to make that our motto. Magus, Amet, Omnibus. More fun for everyone. So everyone gets to participate in whatever capacity they can. Everyone will get to improve. And it's going to be an amazing ride, I think, and I hope it works. Because otherwise, it's going to be tragic. But I have incredibly high hopes. Okay. This has been an incredibly long video, and hopefully some of you are still watching. I will have hopefully all of the links down in the description. If I miss any, let me know! I cannot wait to meet you guys. You guys are so cool. Bangarang!